We all see the incredible things AI can do, but let's talk about the power it consumes. Behind those sleek apps and mind-blowing models, there's a massive hidden infrastructure. Today, we're digging into one of the biggest costs of this AI boom, the raw electrical power it takes to run everything, and what that actually means for our communities.
So, this is the very first installment of a 10-part explainer. It's all based on this really comprehensive research report called Conducting an AI Data Center Community Impact Assessment. Think of it as a guide for communities trying to figure out what it really means when one of these massive facilities wants to set up shop in your town. The report itself comes from a Colorado-based research firm, Virtualization Options LLC. Now, over this whole series, we're going to cover everything from water usage to noise pollution. But today, we're starting right at the beginning with Chapter 1, the absolute foundation of any data center, power. We're talking about the electrical infrastructure. And the report kicks things off with this really crucial point. This isn't some problem that you can just solve once and forget about. The demand for power from AI is just going up and up. Whatever is needed today, that's just the starting line. So how much energy are we really talking about here? Well, the report paints a picture of just this insatiable demand. It's a whole new kind of thirst for power. It's unlike anything grids have had to deal with before. The scale is honestly a little hard to wrap your head around. The report says a single AI data center can demand tens or even hundreds of megawatts. And here's the kicker. Unlike a factory that might shut down at night, these places run at full blast, 24/7. It creates this massive, constant drain on the power grid. Okay, this is what I think is so interesting because it shows just how disruptive this is. See, power companies, they're used to planning for slow, predictable growth over many years. But an AI data center, it's the complete opposite. It's a sudden, gigantic, and totally inflexible demand for power that can show up on the grid practically overnight. So that leads to a pretty critical point, right? What happens when you take this brand new, unprecedented demand and plug it into an electrical grid that was designed and built for a totally different time? Well, as the report shows, it puts an immense amount of pressure on a system that's often already stretched pretty thin. And, the system starts to buckle. The report finds that the existing infrastructure it often can't handle it. Local substations get pushed way past their limits, the big transmission lines that carry power across the state get overwhelmed, and even the local power lines in your neighborhood get stressed to the breaking point. And fixing this? It's not a small job. We are talking about multi-million-dollar investments to upgrade the grid. And this isn't something that happens in a few months, okay? The timelines here are measured in years. That can create a huge amount of uncertainty for a community, from possible rate hikes to just years of construction. Which, of course, leads to the big question the report brings up. Who actually foots the bill? Does the private data center company pay to upgrade the infrastructure that their business depends on? Or do those costs get passed on to everyone else, to every other home and business through higher electricity bills? Now, you've probably heard this before. Data centers claiming they run on 100% clean or renewable energy. But the report really urges communities to look much, much closer at those claims. A lot of times, this comes down to something called renewable energy certificates, or RECs. The report calls them a paper transaction. So a data center in Virginia can buy these certificates from a wind farm in, say, Texas. They then get to claim they are 100% renewable, but the local utility back in Virginia, they might still have to fire up a fossil fuel plant to actually produce the electricity that data center is using. It's a PR win for the company, for sure, but there's no real environmental benefit for the local community. And this lays it out perfectly. There are these paper transactions that look great but don't really help the local environment, and then there are genuine emissions reductions. This means things like building solar panels right on site or funding a new, local renewable energy project that directly powers the facility. The difference for communities' air quality and carbon footprint is it's enormous. All right, so with all this research in mind, what should communities actually be asking when a project like this is on the table? The report boils it all down to 4 absolutely critical questions about power that help cut through the marketing and get to the real-world impacts. First up, get the real numbers. What's the demand on day one? And maybe even more importantly, what's it going to look like in 5 or 10 years? As the report points out, those initial estimates are often pretty conservative, and this demand is really only going to grow. And the logical next step is question number 2. Can the grid you have right now actually handle this? Or are we talking about a massive, years-long, multi-million-dollar upgrade project just to keep the lights on for everybody? Third, what about everybody else?
On a hot summer afternoon, when this data center is pulling its maximum power, what does that mean for the homes and small businesses that are sharing that exact same grid? Is it going to affect their power, their reliability, or their bills?
And finally, question 4. What's the backup plan? Data centers have to have 100% uptime, which means they have gigantic backup power systems. Are they running on diesel? If they are, what does that mean for local air quality when they're tested, or when they're actually used during an outage? That's a huge point we'll dig into later in this series.
So we'll end today's explainer with this thought. The technology is new, the scale is just unprecedented, and the impacts are really complex. This report gives us a framework to understand them, but it really leaves us with the most important question of all. In your community, who is asking these questions? And if nobody is, who will?